According to the New York Times, March 18th, 2021, there have now been over 29.6 million COVID cases in the United States and over 530,000 deaths. For this generation, it is extremely significant to understand what COVID truly is and ways to prevent it, because we have no idea how much longer this disease is going to continue impacting our lives. My name is Alexandra Rogers, and today I will be discussing with you how COVID-19 has impacted the United States, what another country has done to battle COVID, and why the United States should consider adopting some of these policies. To begin, COVID-19 has strongly impacted the United States. The disease has taken the world by storm with its number of cases. Just 6 months after COVID had entered the United States, there had already been 6.5 million confirmed cases in the United States and over 195,000 deaths, says Brookings Education, September 17th, 2020. To put these numbers into perspective, the pandemic had then claimed more than 3 times the American lives that were lost during the Vietnam War. Another notable point to discuss is that researchers and scientists have been studying this disease for well over a year now, but are only finding out more about the disease than they are an actual cure. According to WebMD, December 13th, 2020, there is now a vaccination available for COVID-19, but there is no cure. Lastly, the United States has tried to invoke mask mandates in public places, but cannot truly be established without infringing upon an individual's constitutional rights. Secondly, regions other than the United States have found ways to battle COVID. The problem with this disease is that it impacts large groups of people who are face-to-face. According to the Centers for Disease and Control, October 28, 2020, COVID-19 spreads mainly through close contact from person to person, including between people who are physically near each other. Another issue is that many people are asymptomatic, meaning that they carry this disease but do not show symptoms. This is an extremely large issue in the United States because people are carrying this virus and spreading it to others without knowledge. However, New Zealand has found ways to combat this. It has come up with a 4-level system plan that can combat COVID. It can be applied at different levels, can rid the country of over thousands of cases, and has been proven an effective method for New Zealand. The island country of 5 million declared their pandemic over in just 100 days, says Contagion Live, August 9th, 2020, which is perfect evidence to support why the United States should consider adopting this policy, since we've been dealing with this disease for well over a year now. Lastly, the United States should consider adopting some of the COVID-19 policies. The system has 4 different levels of policy action based off of how maintained the disease is, according to Wayback Machine, February 7th, 2020. The levels start in preparation mode and gradually increase into reducing, restricting, and eliminating COVID. Many of the policies are the same in the US as they are in New Zealand, but the difference is enforcement. In New Zealand, they enforce the policies in more of a categorical way rather than sporadic, which is how the United States does it. In New Zealand, it changes based off of the health of the people and the citizens, and the system is more organized, therefore easier for the government to implement onto its citizens. Therefore, if many of these policies are already present in the United States, it should not be difficult for the government of the United States to organize these policies into a more of an effective way that could advocate for change in the US. In New Zealand, when the plan was set into effect, it started at level 2. But by March 25th, it had risen to level 4, triggering a nationwide lockdown. With only essential services running, people were told to go home and stay in their own specific bubble. When they had shut down, they only had 102 cases and no deaths. At around the same time, when the UK shut down, they had over 6,500 cases and over 330 deaths using their own COVID methods, says BBC News, July 9th, 2020. This statistic itself proves that New Zealand's plan is logical and effective enough to be used in other nations. In conclusion, many people would believe that this system would not work in the United States because it would infringe upon an individual's constitutional rights. This is because many people believe in the idea that the United States government cannot truly force anything upon an individual. However, when it comes to this system, that notion is incorrect because this system can be applied at a local or national level in the United States without infringing upon an individual's constitutional rights. Therefore, change is needed in the United States, and it begins with us. Following some of these simple rules presented by New Zealand that are already being followed in the United States can change the path of this virus drastically. I've just discussed with you how the United States has been impacted by COVID, what another country has done to battle COVID, and why the United States should consider adopting some of these policies. It is important to remember that change can only begin with the start of our actions. What have you done in your daily life to stop the spread of COVID? And now the questions. Are there any other viable alternatives to your solution? If so, why did you select this one over them? Of course, there are many alternative solutions rather than New Zealand's 4-level system plan. However, I believe that New Zealand's plan best fit the United States because when applied to the US, it does not infringe upon any institutional rights, and it cured COVID in ample time in New Zealand. This can be compared to Hong Kong or Taiwan's method of ridding COVID, where they isolated their citizens by quarantining all of them for 2 weeks, and they did not allow any visitors in. Now, while they still did this, however, they are still experiencing hundreds of deaths each day. Therefore, I felt New Zealand's plan was most beneficial and effective to the United States. Question number 2. What is the largest difference between implementing the plan in the US versus New Zealand? First of all, the largest difference between the US and New Zealand is their size. The US has a population of 300 million, while New Zealand only has a fraction of that. So therefore, it might seem like a very big difference and an issue implementing a smaller nation's plan onto a larger nation, when in fact this is not the issue. Michael Baker, who is creator of the 4-level system plan in New Zealand, said that population is completely irrelevant to the plan. He says that as long as there is a functioning government that can enforce policy, regardless of the size of the region, the system will always work, which explains why it again can be used at a local or national level. Thank you.